Good day everybody, my name is Johan Swart from Yossi Coffee, all the way in Mozambique. Mozambique is not a country known for its coffee production, but actually it's very strange because we have some very unique coffees here. Now this is the second video in our series on racemosa coffee, Coffea racemosa. Coffea racemosa is a very rare coffee. It's only produced by one small plantation at this stage, based in southern Africa, actually out of the range of the coffee, because the coffee is endemic. Coffea racemosa is endemic to Mozambique. It is a plant that occurs naturally here in some of the coastal forests, and that gives us the first clue. Coffea racemosa is so different to the other coffees. Other coffees, most coffees that everybody knows, is arabica or robusta or canafora. Those are the coffees that are being produced in mass. Canafora is just the real name for Coffea robusta. Okay, so why is racemosa important, and what is this whole coffee market and coffee thing about? First of all, I think very few people understand how huge the coffee market internationally is. You know that the value of the coffee market in 2022 was estimated at 116.14 billion US dollars. Let me repeat that. 116 billion US dollars. It involves the production of about 106 million 60 kilogram bags of green coffee. Now, green coffee is the little seed. Once the fruit and the other shells and everything have been stripped off, you get green coffee. So it's 105 million of those bags. It's a lot. Times 60 to give you an idea how many kilograms gets produced. We know that the world now drinks nearly 3 billion cups of coffee per day. So guys, the value of this is immense, the monetary value. But the social value of coffee is very often underestimated, and that is what really concerns everybody. The social value of coffee is that we know that it currently gives employment to about 120 million direct employees. Now, should the coffee industry crash, you have 125 million people unemployed, plus their dependents adds up to this number, and it makes it 800 million people worldwide which are dependent upon the production of coffee and work in the coffee industry. That is massive. That is a major contributor. We know that coffee is the second highest consumed beverage after water in the world. So yes, it's already a very important thing to drink, but the value associated with it is massive. Right. Now, what happened in the coffee world that made us rethink? First of all, we have a problem. There's a huge shortage of coffee coming up. We know that arabica is suffering. Robusta coffee is suffering. They are dying in the plantations because both the plants have a couple of things in common. They like to grow at high altitude. They require lots of water consistently throughout the year. And they have a very long period that the fruit actually sits on the plant and that it needs water. If the water supply is cut off for some reason, or it doesn't rain on time, such as we are now getting used to, it never rains on time anymore. It rains too much, too little, too late, all of that, or never. The fruit simply, or the plant simply does what all plants does. When it stresses, it chucks the fruit off, or it chucks the flower off. So if you don't have flowers, you don't have fruit. If you don't have fruit, you don't have coffee. Now, in 2023, in August 2023, at the World Coffee Conference, some very important statements were made. And that leads us back to racemosa. That was on 29 September that this meeting took place. Now, Salvador Lucel, he is the director of the World Coffee Research Organization. Now, Salvador Lucel said that if we don't start breeding climate-resistant coffees, coffee is in for a very big surprise. The world is going to have shortages of coffee like you can't believe. He was still referring to breeding types within robusta and within arabica, breeding types that are more climate resistant. In other words, maybe crossing them with something or something, but sticking to the main recipe, which is the production of arabica or robusta. Right. After him, another important guy spoke. His name is Dr. Aaron Davis. He is the director, one of the directors, and the director of research of the Royal Botanical Society's Kew Gardens in the UK. Now, that is the world's leading authority on plants and plant species and the uses of plants, and it contains all the herbarium samples that was taken over many hundreds of years, and it's saved there. And yeah, it's a very important place, and Dr. Davies is a very important person. Now, Dr. Davies broke the mold. He really went away from the normal way of thinking, and he said, you know what? There's 5 coffee species in the world that could be the future of coffee. And very few people understood what he said, because he just named the 5 coffee species. He named one coffee species, which is essentially an arabica coffee, but which is showing great resilience to drought and more temperature tolerant. It can grow in a little bit hotter climate and things like that. He named that as one. Then he named an unknown coffee. He said Coffea Zanguebariae. Now, Coffea Zanguebariae is something that grows in the forests in West Africa. And after Dr. Davies' speech, people jumped up and everybody went looking for Zanguebariae, and they actually spent a fortune finding Zanguebariae seeds in Liberia and in the West African forest in Cote d'Ivoire and places like that. And they found Zanguebariae. And they are now growing Zanguebariae under laboratory conditions, and they actually have a small plantation growing somewhere, I think in Thailand or something, where they're busy reproducing Zanguebariae. So they're resurrecting this critically endangered plant that they had to go and search for to start producing this coffee. I'll get back to Zanguebariae, and I'll tell you why it was so important and why they jumped first for Zanguebariae and put a lot of money behind Zanguebariae. The next coffee that Dr. Davies mentioned was Coffea Liberica. Now, Coffea Liberica is a well-known coffee in the Philippines, in Malaysia, in places like that. That is the coffee people drink. It is called Coffea Baraku, right? It's a nice, strong, flavorful coffee. The problem is the commercial guys don't see their way open in growing it, because it becomes a very big tree. And you can't put those mechanical harvesters, which they use in Brazil and all over, to produce 160 million bags of coffee. You can't put them over huge trees. Now, but many trees are big. Avocado trees are big. Guava trees are big. Mango trees are big. And we still harvest those fruits. It just takes a different approach. It doesn't take kindly to mechanical harvesting. You need a villager that can every day go and see, there's some ripe beans, and pick them and put them in his little basket and clean them. For a villager, it's a solution. And it's a brilliant coffee. It's a fantastically tasty coffee. Some people comment that it's too fruity, but I love it. I love it. I think it's a great, great coffee, and I'm trying to grow some of it as well. Now, the next coffees that Dr. Davies mentioned was a big surprise. The first one he mentioned was Coffea racemosa, a Mozambican coffee, critically endangered, not even produced in Mozambique at the moment, because In Mozambique, they're trying to produce arabica and robusta because that's what the world says they want. And another Mozambican coffee, which is not only endemic to Mozambique, but to in Mozambique and Tanzania, called Coffea Zanguebariae. Now, those last three, Coffea liberica, Coffea racemosa, and Coffea Zanguebariae, are all coastal coffees. But really, the world doesn't even know that you can grow coffee at the coast. But you can. You can. You need to get those coffee types and grow them. The one becomes a huge tree, the other ones are smaller. The one produces huge beans, the other ones produce tiny little beans. But they are valuable. And they can extend employment to the coastal areas of the world. Right? Let me get back to Stenophylla. Why did they concentrate on Stenophylla? Because Stenophylla is a high altitude coffee. And those 125 million people who are working in the coffee industry, a lot of those, the farmers, are already in high-lying areas. So it doesn't help if I send them racemosa, it won't grow there. It doesn't help if I send them liberica, it won't grow there. Right? They need jobs. We need to rescue their jobs. We need to rescue that industry. And that's why the big focus was on Stenophylla. Produce Stenophylla because you can plant it in the place of arabica or of robusta. Arabica and robusta, their biggest shortfall or downfall is they have very shallow root systems. And because of the shallow root systems, they need water, because they can't push their roots down deep to really get water from deep down. You know, racemosa, I grow racemosa plants, and what happens is that racemosa, the little plant is this size and the roots are like that, right? It's a massive root system, and they grow fantastically under very dry conditions. The water requirements for liberica, for arabica is about 200,000 liters, 250,000 liters per hectare per year because they constantly need water. The water requirements for a hectare of racemosa is about 20,000 liters per hectare per year. It's less than 10%, right? It can handle drought, it can handle sandy soil, it can handle coastal temperatures, high coastal temperatures. The plant loves it. So, do we have something special? In order to test that, just try somewhere and get some of the shells of arabica coffee after they peeled them. I always believe that the kashkas, the shells, kashkara it's also called, gives you an idea of what the coffee will taste like at the end of the day. Because that fruitiness, that very special smell is absorbed into the bean. That's why they do fermentation of the beans, to try and get more of this smell into the bean, more of this taste. Now take arabica, try and get it somewhere and smell it. It's delicious. It's really good. And then, I don't know where you're going to get it, because it's very, very rare. Try and get some racemosa and do that. Oh man, right. There's a huge difference. This is fruity. This is grapey. This is forest. This is, man, it's just a world apart. It smells, there's a tobacco-ish sweet smell. It's all the smells that I can think of that are really pleasant in one. To make a cup of racemosa, it's going to take you a while because the production is very low and it's frightfully expensive at this stage. However, Mozambique is starting to wake up, and I'm willing to help people in other parts of the world too. Right. Let's start. Coastal coffee production is possible. And there's a scope of 160 million bags a year. Even if we produce 1,000 bags, we're not making a scratch. We're not even touching sides. At this stage, what do we produce? Maybe 1 ton a year, maybe 2 tons. We need to increase this. We need to ramp it up. or the message of Dr. Davies, which is really, really a clever guy and who really understands coffee, goes lost. He said there are 5 types. He mentioned 2 altitude coffees and 3 coastal coffees. Why? Nobody ever questioned him. But he sees that there are 2 directions for the coffee industry. A high altitude direction and a coastal direction. At Miyosi Coffee, we believe that we can produce this. We can help communities. We can make a difference through coffee again. You are welcome to contact us at Miyosi, M-I-Y-O-S-I, Moz, M-O-Z, all one word, at gmail.com. We will answer your questions and let's get into a relationship where we can start producing this. The future of coffee lies in this. I thank you.